workbook. This is kind of, as you'll see, it's kind of a working session, but really it's more getting a starting session because you'll never get through. It would be really boring if we walked through this and I said, okay, now do this, and then wait for you to do it. So, are we live? Hey, are we live on Facebook?
Yes.
Hey, Facebook Live.
Where else would you be live at?
So I'm excited.
And live
I don't know,
audience,
I might have been live on Fox or CNN or something like
CNN.
that.
I
There we
told
go.
you that.
CNN. Yeah, Randy had really insulted me and called me looked like I was a CNN news anchor or whatever. I think these days anchor means a lot more, is more relevant than it ever was before.
Yeah,
So kind of dragging everybody down, right? So anyway, today is, I'm excited. The title of this, I said, was Making 2018 a Launch Pad for Your 2019 Success. This is the 7th, so in terms of the year, how many of you, and I asked this question on Friday, how many of you had New Year's resolutions? How many of you, when you got to New Year's, did you set a resolution? Good. Actually, the right answer, not that there's a right or wrong answer, but resolutions are really not the way to ensure your success in the new year. In fact, one of the reasons why we came up with this, and this is a tool that I've used with my clients, and I share this on Friday. I've used this tool for almost 10 years. And for those of you who don't know me or don't know kind of my focus, being the Vision Warrior, one of the things we do in the Vision Challenge, and I'll say it again a couple times throughout this, but if you haven't taken the Vision Challenge, you need to take it. As it stands right now, last I checked, it's still free, although that's not always going to be the case. It's accessible to you for free right now to do. We're actually upgrading that. We've created a couple of new workbooks, and it'll be probably something that we'll be charging a little bit for, just because we can, we should. And so, but the year in review, when we look at what people do as we approach the end of a year, and there's nothing magical about the calendar year changing other than it causes us to think about, okay, what happened over the last year and what am I going to do in the next year? And the more important thing is not necessarily what happened last year. In fact, when I'm talking a lot about the Vision Challenge, one of the things when we talk about your unique vision, I spend a lot of time and energy in the process of really getting clarity and discovering your unique vision, your unique reason, and your unique value is don't be limited by your history. We really want to craft a dream story. We want to craft where you really want to go. Unfortunately, what happens to all of us is we tend to put ourselves in a box. We tend to settle. We tend to say, okay, I'm here, I'm comfortable, because failure isn't really the opposite of success, right? It's really comfort in my mind, because if you get comfortable at a certain place, even if it's a very uncomfortable place, that you in some place you never really wanted to be. So what we try to do in the Vision Challenge is try to break you out of that. But interestingly enough, as I work with clients, how many of you would consider yourselves type A? Or you are somebody who is driven for performance? Jenna, naturally, honestly, raise her hand. Scott, raise his hand. And Rayanne, I would say yes. Everybody here that I know are driven. They're performance-based, right? So because of who you are, and because of who I am, and because of where we are, even if you have a vision, and I'll share with you at the end what I call Vision Catalyst, my daily tool that I use that comes as a byproduct or an output of the Vision Challenge, to give you an idea of how I think about and remind myself every day where I'm going. But today, what we really want to talk about in this year in review, and there's a lot of year in reviews out there, and I will tell you that if you look at this, you'll probably find some of the same ideas in some places. I will also tell you that this is totally unique in that I have even adapted it from what I've used in the past with the intention of using it with the Business Growth Network and my Wellbeing Compass people that I'm working with now to help basically get a proper perspective on the 12 months that preceded when you went through this year in review. Now this is January the 7th, we're not far into the calendar year, but really what I want to talk about is, the question is, how do you or how will you remember the last year? I mean, just by a show of hands, how many of you feel really good about the last year? Okay. Okay. One.
It doesn't have to be monetary.
No. Okay. You don't have to qualify.
It's not monetary.
Yeah. You don't have to qualify. Because again, you'll appreciate this, and if it doesn't have to be monetary, because one of the things is, it's really important. It may not seem like that. You might say, okay, I want to hit the reset button and move on to 2019, right? I'm in 2019, I don't want to think about 2018. That's not a good strategy, because I can guarantee you this, that what you think about, regardless of how you feel about certain aspects, the thing is, the reason why you don't raise your hand is because you're a type A, because you expect performance, because emotion is usually triggered by what? Negative events, right? The things that we will carry forward, 95% of what we carry forward, I teach this in the Vision Challenge, is that program that's running in the back of your mind that is your past. And 95% of those emotions and those things that are driving you every day that you wake up with in the morning are actually negative emotions and memories from your past. So even though you think I've wiped the slate clean and I'm moving on into 2019, and I'm, again, the naive in the group, which nobody here raised your hand, but I set a resolution to change that. I need to lose more weight. I should spend more time meditating. I need to make more sales calls. Do you understand that all of those statements are an indictment? Because all those statements are what we call the language of imperatives, that basically says that as you're looking at what you did and looking for where you're going, what you are doing on a daily basis does not align with what either somebody has told you you need to do and you haven't embraced it, or you really don't want to do, or you just want to tell yourself that. You're living in a fantasy. Does that make sense? So the purpose for this year in review, and the preamble is going to be the bulk of this conversation, but I do want you to understand how it is getting through this workbook. And you're going to do this is going to be like homework, but I'm going to allow you to get started. So the first objective really is to review, reflect, and plan. No matter what I say about focusing forward, not being limited by your past, if anything were possible, what kind of future would you imagine? Don't be constrained by what you think or what somebody tells you, but get out of your own way in that regard. When it comes to looking at periodically, and I say at least once a year, you need to take stock, you need to take review, and you need to look at capturing and recognizing the wins in your life. Not just monetary, not just it's not just, it is all aspects.
First with my son.
Yes, right. And a funny thing is that Randy heard this on Friday. I went through and the step one here, and I'll kind of is getting 50 wins, brainstorming and coming up with 50 things that you accomplished in the last year. And most people look at that and go, 50? I can't come up with 50. Yes, you can. I mean, if you don't qualify and whatever, and you look at all what we call 6 areas that I break down each into 3, so there's like 18 different areas, and that's step 2. But when I prompt you to that, you will come up with 50. I came up with 50, and then when I went to step 1, and when I got to step 2, I realized I forgot that I married off 2 of my daughters this year. And I didn't, and as you can imagine, there's a whole list of financial accomplishments and emotional and family accomplishments and relationships and all kinds of things that weren't even on my list of 50, okay? So the thing is, this is not an impossible task, and in fact, I would suggest that as you go through this, don't do it. So really capture and recognize wins. For those of you who have been part of, my world for a while, you probably met a guy by the name of Anil Gupta, and he talks about the 3 steps or 3 things for happiness, and it's giving, gratefulness, and growing, right? Well, how are you going to, if you continually are discounting the blessings, the achievements that you've had in your life, it's pretty hard to stay positive and motivated and believing in your dreams. Most people, frankly, even the highest performers, if we're not careful, will discount to the point where you won't want to set new goals for 2019 because all you remember is the things that you didn't achieve, right? And that's easy to do. It's not, that's not an indictment, because again, we all expect achievement, and when we fall short, we remember that. And so then when we say, okay, I'm going to do that, if I speak with the language of imperatives, I'm really speaking with, I should, I could, I will, I mean, it's really, try is not a thing, right? You're either committed to something or you're interested in it, but you either commit to it, and I know Scott would say the same thing. So the other thing is, it's a proven process to complete the year. So if you want to say, okay, let's put a pin in 2018 and have a foundation for my journey in 2019, this is a tool to make that happen. It's no magic, it requires work, but this is a tool to make that happen. So that's the primary objective. So the benefits of the process is you realize your accomplishments, and I got to tell you, when I go through it, every year I've gone through it, every client I've gone through it with, when you go through it and you honestly go through it, you come away from that feeling, hey, this was a pretty good year. Yeah, there's things that I didn't accomplish. Yeah, there's things, but really, on balance, here's 50 things on varying degrees of importance, but 50 things that I accomplished. And actually, it'll end up being more than that, because if you go through all 3 steps, you'll find there's more than that. Then it creates kind of a positive winning mindset. Are you better at getting up in the morning and doing what you need to do if you're feeling like you're a winner that day, or you're feeling like a loser that day? Somewhat rhetorical, right? Does anybody feel better when they feel like they've been beaten down the day before? Anybody here? Anybody? I've not found anybody that I've talked to yet. But if you felt like you were beaten down, it's pretty darn hard. Yeah.
Certain circumstances.
Right.
Like I do motorsports. If I get beat by somebody who's genuinely faster than me, sometimes I'll revel in that, because then I get to pick their brain and figure out, hey, how are you fast?
Great. That's an awesome point that we'll talk about in step 3. But the thing is, there's nothing wrong with being beaten down or beaten. There's nothing wrong with failure. Again, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is what's required to continue to grow and achieve success. The 3rd G of Neil Gupta's world is growing. Well, growing, the first time I fell down as a kid, I never got back up to walk. I'd be sitting here or whatever. I mean, somebody had to carry me up, and it's just, that's not the way it works. You have to fail to push the envelope, because both support and challenge are what's required to be healthy, and to be healthy in all aspects of your life, right, Rayanne? So mental challenges, physical challenges, business challenges, relationship challenges are every bit as much a part of your success moving forward as financial success, health success, all these things. They work together. It actually goes all the way down to our genetics as humans. Again, I've gotten more educated in that, working with my Wellbeing Compass and working with people in the health space like Rayanne and others that really kind of understand the holistic aspect and how the mind and the body and the spirit and everything kind of works together, both genetically, epigenetically, and in our mindset as well. The last one is confidence for the future and connecting with a winning community. One of the things that has been Jenna and my vision, and everybody that's been associated with the Business Growth Network, and my vision for Richardson Plano Networkers, and anything that I do, I have a men's breakfast network, everything I do is connecting people with, in that networking area, a winning community. Because we all have the need to have cheerleaders around us. We have people that we need to be accountable to, but also people that we need encouragement from. Anybody here ever go to the home front and not get the encouragement that they want? Sure. I mean, if you're out there pushing the limits, the people that see you every day, your kids, your spouse, your mom, you know, whoever it is, it's unreasonable to expect that they'll always be encouraging you to push forward to failure, right? Because they don't want to see you hurt. It's not a bad thing. They, some cases maybe your relationship is a little strained and they're not, or they feel it's them, not you. But the reality of it is, in many cases, they just don't want to see you be disappointed. They don't want, I have 5 kids. I don't always, I have to fight myself to say, hey, don't try that, I'll do it for you. I know how to do it, I'll help you. But it wasn't until I taught my daughter to drive that I could feel comfortable. If I was driving her around all the time with 5 kids, I would be a chauffeur for the rest of my life. So anyway, so connecting to a winning community is important. The key points are that why don't we look back at the year before, and what's the resistance behind this year in review? And the fact is, we are overloaded. Anybody else here's calendar full? I retired in 2005, and my calendar is fuller now than it ever was, even in the corporate world. I may be filled with different things, and things of my own intent, but it's full. And so you get so busy that instead of taking stock over the things that you did get done during a day, I don't know if anybody else is like me, but even today, when I get to the end of the day, if I'm not careful, I won't remember everything I accomplished today. I won't remember this, possibly, which I find this is something that I applied time and energy to and invested my time in, which is the most important asset I have. I can never get back. And I'll discount it because I didn't get one thing done. And it might be a trivial thing, but that'll be the thing that'll stick in my mind, and I'll go to sleep with it, and I'll wake up with it, and I won't, and the next day I'll remember, oh, I need to get that done today. And now I'm living in the language of imperatives again, right? So again, we're overloaded, so it's with our accomplishments, and you're type A, you're already told me you're achievers, your accomplishments are quite a bit. So you're just saying, okay, we'll set those aside and I'll focus on the things that I didn't get done. Well, again, there's a lot of different debates on where you should focus. Some people say, you focus on your weaknesses, make your weakness better. I believe, I don't know, and I think Scott is as well, and Randy and others that are in Jenna, is focusing on your strengths. Bring in other people that are better at whatever you determine you needed help with, and focus on your strengths, because that's what you'll bring to the party for the entire community, right? That's what you're investing, is the things that are your thing. Achievers expect performance and evaluate the team and experiences. It should give you, when you look at this, when you look at your results from this year in review, you should be able to look at it. And then I would say, when you take it as you're going forward, think about for a minute, who was cheering you on? Who was helping you? Because life is a team sport, right? You're not in it by yourself. There's people working for you, working against you. There's all kinds of challenges. So the key here is the benefits of the process will take you down. And most of this is all in the workbook. So for those watching on Facebook Live, if you post on the comments that you'd like the PDF, I can email you the PDF if you've taken, if you're willing to go through it. If you're not willing to go through it, you can find year in reviews of other people around. But if you're going to use it, I'm happy to take the time and send you the PDF. So let's talk very quickly. This is, that was a lot of preamble for the book. So look at your book, look at the first 2 pages is really kind of going over, a shortened version of what I have. Step 1 is a review, and it's a brainstorm. Randy, what's a brainstorm? What is brainstorming? What is it, and what isn't it?
Brainstorming to me is putting down all the possibilities of things that you could possibly do without limitation.
Precisely. There's no limitations, there's no constraints.
There's no right answer.
No right answer. Brainstorming, when you do brainstorming with a group, which I did all the time in the corporate world, you would basically always, people would say, somebody throw something out and then somebody would start to edit that. Try to say, well, no, that's not, no, that's wrong. That's a violation of the rules of brainstorming. Brainstorming means if it comes into your mind, you put it on paper. Don't sit there and go, it wasn't that significant. No. Everything. You can get 50. If you do that, it won't take you long to get 50. Every time you think of something. It's only if you start looking at something you wrote down and try to say, well, my wife would disagree, or my business partner. If I told somebody else this, they wouldn't think that was an accomplishment. Well, guess what? They don't matter. You with me? They don't matter. This is you. I am not a motivator. Never have been, never will be. I didn't always realize that, but I'm not a motivator. There's no such thing, really. There's people who go out to be motivational speakers, but what you're really wanting is inspiration. Okay, I want to be an inspirational speaker. Doesn't always, I've had people who are very inspirational, but you wouldn't label them as motivation. You with me? They may not have all the right things to say, all the funniest stories, all the tears that they've evoked in my experiencing their presentation, right? But they've inspired me either through information they've shared. I'm always learning. You should always be learning. This is an opportunity to learn. So the first step fundamentally is the easiest, because the first step is simply getting it all on paper. And I will also tell you, if you don't, it's like we say in the Vision Challenge, if you don't write it down, it's not real. You're going to have a hard time carrying it forward, because remember, you're swimming upstream against something that's 20 times stronger than you, which is your history of the negative thoughts and energy that's going on in your mind. And this wave coming this way, if you don't consciously make the effort to write it down and change your momentum going this way, and then reinforce that on a daily basis. This is not magical. This year in review, as I say in the Vision Challenge and everything else, there's nothing magical. If you don't take what you learn in this process and figure out a way to put that in your daily routine, your daily thought process, you don't reinforce that, then it will not have it will not have an impact. On the other hand, if even just a little bit, it makes you take a step forward, then guess what? You're stepping forward the next day from a higher plane, and the next day from a higher plane. And what is that called? That's called compounding. That's called, whether it's financially, I lost 60 pounds. A lot of people that don't know me know that. I lost 60 pounds from a year ago last December. And the catalyst for that was a statement that I made from the stage, was I was going to have my six-pack back. And most people would argue I never had it because I was too skinny at the time. I weighed as little as I do right now. And so I didn't have anything to work with. Now I actually have a semblance of a six-pack. But the reality of it was, the benefit of that small action compounded over time, trying to find the things that would get me to that vision, resulted in many things. Not only a loss of 60 pounds, but a loss of every pharmaceutical that I was taking, a body age or metabolic age that's like 15 years less than my chronological age, lack of joint pain, all these things. There's just a whole list of things. So when you start positively recognizing a little thing, right, and move forward with that, and then the next day move forward, that's a little bit. The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson says, it's the little things that are easy to do and easy not to do over time, compounded, that will determine whether your future looks like this or it looks like this. Because eating a Big Mac won't kill you unless you eat it every day. Right? On the other hand, working out won't make you healthy unless you do it every day or do it with frequency, right? So it works both ways. Does it make sense? I mean, again, you guys, I know to some degree I'm preaching to the converted here, because you guys are here, you're investing in yourselves, you're trying to learn. I know when I'm speaking to audiences who self-elect to come, that I'm talking to the elite. I'm talking to people that really are motivated to do something else. But unfortunately, not everybody's that way, and there'll be 500 people or whatever over between the videos that we're out on Facebook Live that will see this. And I want everybody to understand that even though I didn't get motivated to come into the room today, which they could have, to do this, that they can apply these things, and so they're hearing things you probably already know. So I apologize if I'm being redundant. Step 2 is what I call a comprehensive check. Now here is not, it's kind of brainstorming, kind of not, but once you've got that foundation of step 1 of your brainstorm, you go into step 2, as it says here, with step 1's brainstorm list and your calendar and journals. If you journal, daily journal like I do, if you do anything like this, write down things, take those tools into step 2. And then these happen to be all the areas in step 2 are the areas, if you went through you would recognize it if you go through the vision challenge. If you go through what we now have as a vision discovery workbook, each of these areas are there. You're encouraged to really set or understand, if anything were possible, what your vision would be for these points in your life. If there's something here as you're going through it, I told people on Friday, and I would tell people, I will continue to tell you, if you've been through the vision challenge, you kind of know what these areas are. If you haven't been through it or you don't remember, it's not important. Because remember, who is this? Who owns this, and who's it for? You, not me. So if I define environment as one thing and it means something else to you, and you use that as that place to note 3 things, that's fine. But the key is here, there's 18 areas times 3, if you do the math there, that's 54. So what'll happen is if you do step 1, brainstorming, and you get 50, then what'll happen, which happened to me when I remembered my two daughters' weddings, in the process of going from step 1 to step 2, you'll have much more than 50. In fact, I would submit that if you go through step 1, step 2, and then as you're thinking forward into step 3, which is really planning the year ahead, I think you'll find you probably have 100 things. You'll probably double that 50. So if 50 seems daunting to you, if it seems like there's no way I'm going to come up with 50, all I would encourage you to do, nothing mandatory here, what I encourage you to do is keep going. There's no time limit here, and it's worth the effort to have that foundation, if you trust me. Yeah, actually, you go out the door and to the right, and it's right immediately on the left. But so is that clear? Any questions about step 1 and step 2? Randy, you've been carrying it forward. I gave it to you earlier last week. You've kind of carried it forward. Any observations, thoughts? I mean, from your standpoint, because again, I'm on a journey. Everybody here, I hope, is on a journey. None of us have arrived, and so I'm always learning. And one of the ways I learn is guys like Randy, Rayanne, Jenna, people, they give me input. I may not always accept it, but I'm processing it. And it may turn around at some point and come out in my mouth as my idea, and maybe Jenna gave it to me. My wife is always accusing me of that she's hearing her ideas that I at one point said that's a bad idea, and comes out of my mouth as my idea, and now I'm moving forward, full steam ahead to doing something that at one point I said, I'm not gonna do that, right? So anyway, I'm sorry, Randy. So did you have any thoughts?
One observation is I tended to be somewhat self-restricted in what I write. And then after we met on Friday, we had the kind of group meeting on Friday, I started to think about, well, why didn't I put this down? Why didn't I put that down? And I'm busy this weekend, so I haven't gotten back to it.
Well, you haven't got back to it, but that's okay. The thing is, you recognize, interestingly enough, and what Randy, I'll emphasize, is I had given, on Wednesday of last week, I'd given a hard copy of this to people that said they promised they would be there on Friday, which most of them came, and gave them a head start. And I said, do step 1, read the 2 pages, do step 1 when you come in. And I don't remember, there was 10, I think the high was 10, maybe less, 20, 15, okay. of people of the, and they were done. I mean, you come into it, and so one of the reasons why it makes sense, not just handing this to you and saying doing it, and doing what I'm doing here, and what I do with clients is, we all need a little prodding, we all need a little encouragement, and we all need to kind of understand.
Well, the instructions say list wins, and I think many, if not most of us, would put the word significant in front of that.
Yeah.
So we only wrote significant wins.
Awesome point. And that's actually really, Randy, the biggest limitation is we are continually self-deprecating and analyzing to the point, because, and again, I don't want to get off topic, but what's the bulk of what the input we get on a daily basis? It's negative, right? And even though we're pushing ourselves forward in a positive way, whenever we make a misstep, we criticize ourselves, and there's probably plenty of people around, there's more people around to tell us, to point out that we messed up, than there are people to tell us, good job, Randy, that was awesome. I really appreciate you doing that. That was, I know it didn't seem like a lot, but it really made a difference to me. I would tell you, when you think about this from your own perspective, just as this is an aside, it has nothing to do with this, but it'll help you, because I know when I went through this again, and every time I go through this, I went through and I said, I need to let the guys who that come and do service at my place know how much I appreciate them. Because I know being in the maintenance area or service area is a thankless job, because you're always going to serve somebody that something's broken and people are ticked off, and they don't really, the only thing you hear is, oh yeah, good, thanks, and you move on. And I realize that those people probably, I'm contributing to their feelings of, do I even want to keep doing this, right? I mean, it's easy to get there, right? No matter how successful you've been, if you're not careful, you will get yourself in a mindset that says, what's the point? Let me just chill. Let me watch TV. Let me hang out. I'm good enough. I don't want to go through this again. I don't want to lose another job. I don't want to lose another customer. I don't want to have another, being transparency, I've been married 3 times. Third time was a charm, I think. It's basically, it's not one of those things you want to sign up for when failure, and it can definitely impede your path forward. And the last,
We're not perfect, so
right.
we're all going to fail at something.
And absolutely, I have total confirmation, 100% confirmation on a regular basis that I'm not perfect. And and I think that we all have company in that regard. The last step, and again, this is what you're leading to. And I would only encourage you, you may have already set goals. I know Jenna is a big, and we're big on goals and the 40 days of success and building on, and making sure you have your vision and moving forward and doubling your business and doubling your sales and doubling the quality of relationships and whatever it is that you want to double. The reality of it is, if you set solid goals with the belief that you can move forward with those, and they are aligned on what I call your bridge from the future, not your bridge to the future, but that's why the vision challenge is, because you walk your way back from there, and then you can set a meaningful mile marker in the upcoming year. And that's what the step 3, the reason why there are 2 here, and it may or may not come out, but the intention is that number 1 under each of these categories, and realize this is just like the vision challenge. When I ask you to go through the vision challenge, I'll say, if anything were possible, and frankly, you'll have multiple statements of, in the future, what your ideal day looks like, what the things that you're experiencing with your health, your finances, where you live, where you work, the relationships you have, your network, all those things, right? You will have multiple things, but here I'm only looking for 2. Again, I don't want you to get overwhelmed here in each area. And the one is a general statement, is the example I hear used, and probably because I've been on a journey of health and weight loss, and I said, specific, general description is, and then a specific, and one would be, I'd like to lose weight. And then a specific would be, how much weight do you want to lose and what time frame? Or a specific could be, I'm going to take this action by this time frame. Yes, sir?
So with there only being 2 for each category,
Right.
how would you propose, should we spend time triaging our old list to pick the most significant, most important, most meaningful items to put there, or it doesn't matter?
The latter would be my knee-jerk response, because it really has to be meaningful to you. But what I would recommend, you may find an area of where the general is there, and you might have 2 generals, or you might have 1 general and 3 or 4 specifics or whatever. This is not intended to be anything, just like the Vision Challenge, just like the Vision, Reason, and Value Discovery workbooks that you get in the Vision Challenge that we walk you through in the Vision Challenge. It's not intended to be constraining. In other words, if you feel from your perspective that I want to get into, there's more things that I want to focus, and maybe it is health, Randy. Maybe this year you've made the determination that, yeah, here's things that I'd like to do in each of these, 18 areas in my life, but if I could improve my health, everything else would fall into place. And I use that example again because it's very real to me. Because once I did this, really seemed like a tangential, random thing of saying I want to, lose weight, and then figured out how to do that, and then built the discipline and the routine and the lifestyle to make that happen. Then it made me want more in that area and more in that area. And then the byproduct of those things saved me money, reduced expenses, improved the quality of my life in a lot of different areas, the amount of energy and things like that. So there are byproducts. What I would submit though is, as a counter to and give a little more answer to your question, is I would really ask and recommend that you get the general and the specific in each area, and then if you want more in an area, go back or add to it, and that would be okay. But we tend to avoid certain things that maybe we didn't feel or we felt challenged with, or maybe the thing you accomplished was so little that you really didn't even want to think about it going forward. That's possible. And so the problem is, when I look at the all 6 areas of your life, and you can break them down into 9 or 7, or it doesn't matter. My point is, I've broken it down into 6 with 3 subcategories in each of the 6. So that's where I get the 18. The thing is, if you have a hole, it's like a tire. And I use this example on Friday. Does it matter where the hole is? No. Because everything, and one thing that I learned from a good friend of mine who out in San Diego, a guy by the name of Jim Bunch, that says everything in your life either inspires you, in other words, adds air or adds energy, or it expires you. It takes energy out. And it's the same way with people. It's the same way with your health. It's the same way with your finances. I mean, if you're living with very little margin, and trust me, again, in a moment of transparency here, when it came to a point in my life where money didn't matter, I had plenty of margin to invest and do whatever I wanted to do and take risk and everything else. When you lose that margin, it's pretty easy to fall into what I would call a scarcity mentality. I can't do that because my back hurts. I can't do that because I don't have the money. I can't do that because my relationship with my kids is terrible and I got to fix it. It creates a scarcity thing. So all I would say is, when you're moving forward on step 3 to getting your general and your specific, is don't bypass an area. Even if at the end of the day you say, well, I put that down, but it's not that important. At least you know that that's kind of like the low water mark for your thing, so you won't end up with a hole. Because I've learned in my own experience that when I focus totally on my job or my income or my business and disregarded my health, that it ultimately caused impact on my job or my relationships. It ultimately caused impact You know, it's pretty hard. I mean, to go through a divorce, it is a little bit of a take you through off track, no matter how good you were doing when it started. Does that make sense? So anyway, so that's it. The step threes. Any questions on those? Because really, the intention here, whatever time you want to spend left is you can do this. You can take it with you. It can be homework. I would encourage you to do that. If you have any questions, come back. You know, we do this Business Growth Network every Monday and it's kind of like open office hours, and I'll be here, and Jen will be here, and Randy, and others that come regularly. And if you want to talk about this, it's fair game. But we're going to keep moving forward. We got 40 days of things that we're going to do with the Vision Challenge and everything else. So, any other thoughts, questions, observations? I'm going to go to the last slide if otherwise. Yes,
I have a
Rand.
question.
Okay.
So, back to your 50, what helps you, just kind of this is general, to not judge? Is there something that you could, I don't know,
Not judge yourself?
yeah.
Not qualify.
In other words,
Yeah,
not
yes.
put it down because you judge it to be
Right.
insignificant.
Right,
Is that what you mean?
yes,
Well,
yes.
the-
How do you move, you know, without that
You
self-
start.
I think you just write it anyway.
Right.
Don't just, you could judge it in your head, but then say,
Gotta
screw it,
write
I'm writing it down.
Right down.
Yeah.
Just override it.
Unfortunately, I mean, he's exactly right, and my response was going to be integrity. Because the real answer to that is you've got to have integrity to yourself, and you say, I'm not going to qualify.
But also
I'm going to
just
do
start.
this, and just start doing it.
Like when you write one, something else that got you there will pop up. Something else that
Yeah.
they just start coming once you start writing.
A mantra you could use is empty my brain on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call it a brain dump. You know, that's a lot of times what I've called, you know, brainstorming was a brain dump. You know, just getting it out there. It's, like I said, it's kind of like Jenna said, just start, because that primes the pump. It's like priming a pump. It's like siphoning gas. It's like whatever you want to call it. Once you get going, then the
Start
next
today.
step.
Sometimes the best thing, like it is a goal, the fact that we just get up in the morning and just exist.
Right.
Like the fact that you crawl out of bed on some days can be
Is a major
significant.
That's
accomplishment.
right. For some people, that's almost a virtual
I can
impossibility.
absolutely tell you, there have been days like the idea of getting out of bed seems so hard. So the idea of just crawling out and making breakfast is significant.
She raises a really good point, because if I showed you my list of 50, and by the way, you don't have to show this to anybody. This is your list, remember. And I had some things on my list which were I made it through this. You with me? That was a win. This happened in my life, and I'm still standing, or I'm here at the end of the year to talk about it. You know what? Some of those can be the most significant wins of your life, because that said, I got knocked down, but I got back up.
So overcoming the failure.
Just getting
Absolutely.
through it.
Absolutely,
Sometimes
just
it's
getting
just
through it.
getting
You may
through
still be
it.
dealing with it, but again, there's nothing, challenge is always gonna be a part of the equation, right? You don't always have the support you need to do what you wanna do in your health, in your business, in your relationships and everything else. So you're not always gonna have support. And in fact, there's a statement that John DeMartini says that if you stay with, and you always surround yourself with support, that guess what you have? You stay juvenile. In other words, you don't grow, you don't learn, you don't mature. Your body, your cells, your health requires, as well as requires both support, people who are there beside you and encouraging you and helping you, and things that are supporting you, as well as things that are challenging you. And it's the overcoming of the challenge many times that it is the most relevant to what you're going to do in 2019. Does that make sense?
Well,
So put those things out. Yeah,
classic
Randy.
example that I'd like to use on that is the American Indian. The way a boy became a man was they gave him a spear and a knife, and they sent him out into the wilderness. And I think it was either a week or 2 weeks, but he had to go out and completely live on his own. He had nobody to turn to, his parents weren't there, his tribe wasn't there, he had to survive. And if he came back, he was a man. If he didn't come back,
Oh, well. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty harsh, but it was
But-
the only way perhaps
That's some
to
Spartan stuff.
wean, because some kids rebel, right? And
Right.
they don't want anything to do with you. But other kids, they don't mature.
Right.
And so they're so used to, hey dad, can you help me with
Right.
this? Hey mom, can you paint my sneakers for me? You know, and some of those things are really good and they're fun and they're developmental
Oh, yeah.
with them. But sooner or later, they gotta be able to, so, you know. my
Do for
kids-
themselves.
I remember, just to give a personal example, my oldest son would never help me in the yard,
Right.
never help me around the house. But my youngest son would always follow me.
Mhm.
And if I said, go get that brick, he'd get that brick. And he
learned.
He learned, and he's got his own house, and he does all that stuff that we did together, he now does on his own.
And I'm actually, I have a younger brother, and to your point, I have a younger brother, and I was the older son. And actually, I will tell you right now that I never developed the quote handy skills or the skills to do it. And my brother was. My brother is extremely talented. Anything that, you know, mechanical, anything else that you have to do around the house, whatever. For me, I never learned it. That's not a right or wrong, it's just, but yeah, so to your point. So again, the challenge, the last thing on this, which is an addition, so if you've ever gone down this journey with me before, one of the things that I added to this workbook that I felt was important to me was this no regrets next steps. And it's all this is a free flow. If you're going through your list of 50 brainstorming, or you're going through here, and those negative, which I guarantee you they will because they did to me, these things that the language of imperatives or the things that I thought I should have done, that I maybe regret. Regret maybe to some people is a harsh word, but it really isn't. It's really, I wish I lost the weight this year that I thought I was going to do at the beginning. I wish I had the sales and the business success that I intend. That's why you have a trouble saying, I really love this year. So go ahead and write those down, because those can inform, they can help you with setting your goals for 2019. But you want to set them with the foundation of understanding all the things that you did over the last 12 months, all the wins that you have, because that gives you the strength to face those and say, okay, this area, anybody read, Keller's book, The One Thing? It's basically every day, do something towards that one thing that will give you the most benefit, and it's not necessarily the same, but every day you look at this one thing. If I do this, maybe it's a health thing, a financial thing, a sales thing, could be any number of things, right? If I get that, then it'll have a ripple effect. Doug Grady, you see people make an impact on me that speak, that I listen, that other things will happen because of that. Kind of like in the Vision Challenge, when we talk about day 4 and 5 about your unique value, we talk about the direct events, the direct results that your ideal client gets. But also, if you look a little deeper, it's the indirect. Because they achieved that, this, you with me? And it resulted in this, which resulted in this, which, if you really get tuned in to the people you serve, that'll be it. So the last thing is, I'm going to share with you, some people have said, and the reason why I left the cards for the Vision Warrior, things like that, is one of the things out of the Vision Challenge is, how do you start, the question came up on Friday, and it always comes up, okay, so once I get this done, and I set these couple of things, what do I do next? And my first answer is, if you haven't already, I would say, or even if it's been a few months or whatever since you did the Vision Challenge, go back and do it again. And make sure your vision is clear. Your vision really, as we've talked about, what's the difference between vision and goals? Your vision is really your view of the horizon. It's where you're headed. The honest truth is, you'll never achieve it, because it's a journey. and you're striving to get towards your ideal day, your ideal average day, and have the things that you want to see in all aspects of your life aligned, but it's a journey, right? Your goal, what you want to accomplish in 2019, is a mile marker on your bridge from that future vision, okay? So out of the vision challenge, then it says, okay, so how do I get myself into that daily routine? And how do I overcome that 95% negative that informs my thoughts every morning when I wake up, whether I want them to or not, and reprogram, run my own program? This is it. So in the vision challenge, we come up with what we call a vision catalyst, and this is mine. This wouldn't be yours. I wouldn't even allow it to be yours because you have different words, you have different vision, you have different things, and it won't be useful to you unless you do it. Yours would be yours, and it could be completely different. But this is mine. I just want to share it with you. This is my unique reason. Don't be inspiring tears. How I use this is as every morning when I wake up.
Did you redo it?
A little, not much. It's a work in process.
You went with display format?
Yeah, because I can do it on my phone and I can look at it.
That's definitely not you.
Randy.
Close.
Close
Looks
though.
different.
Get close, buddy.
That's my granddaughter, one of my daughter's weddings. I can't believe I forgot. See, no regrets. I took that when I was in Europe. It's 2 hours, or 2 minutes and 20 seconds, not 2 hours. Granddaughter. So, just to kind of share with you, how many of you have heard of vision boards or visioning? Okay, you heard of affirmations, neuro-linguistic programming? Okay, all of those are in that. Okay, all of those are amplified in that video. Why? Because that video is a reflection of my words, my understanding of my unique reason, why I'm doing what I do. My unique reason is to change the world one dream at a time. I search for and work with individuals and entrepreneurs and anybody else that have a dream and want to achieve. And I do that by eliciting, clarifying, accelerating their movement towards their dream. Not mine, theirs. So I say that. Then when I get into my unique value is I'm able to connect the dots, which is my unique value. They may or may not be yours. And then the rest of that, the last part of that, is I am stating where I am And the thing is, I state the things that I want as if I'm living in them right then. That's important. And so when I'm watching that video, people say, why didn't you have a soundtrack, or why didn't you have some voiceover, or whatever? Because it's basically, there is I am, by me reading those out loud, hearing myself say those on a daily basis. So I actually watch that video. I do meditation and when I wake up in the morning, and then I do some scripture reading and some other things to feed that, and then I immediately I watch that. First time I watch it through, I read out loud. So if you're around me, you'd wonder, first it was kind of like Cheryl would go, what are you doing? But I mean, I would read it out loud every day, and then I would watch it. Actually, the first time through, I would watch it because I had to get my mind, and I just watch it, and then I learned that the second time I would verbalize it, third time I would watch it again. Then before I go to bed at night, I watch it at least once. I want to put that vision, that catalyst in my brain when I go to sleep, because we all know that our brain continues to process at a very deep level. That 95% that's overriding you when you wake up is going on when you go by programming. But it sounds really, but it's real. There is real science behind it, right, Brian?
Yes.
She can tell you. I mean, I have a lot of people now in my Wellbeing Compass network that invited me in at Rayanne's encouragement to be part of it, because wellness actually is impacted by your vision and your willingness to get mind, body, and spirit along. So that's it. That's the year in review. I hope it's been useful for those online. Again, request the workbook if you want to see what this is all about, and I'll happy to email. I just need your email address. I'm assuming I'll be connected to you, but let's be connected. The other thing is, this is a great community, Business Growth Network. This is where you can get support. The whole vision of this, it's not for profit, but not for loss. So basically it costs you, what is it, $17 a month? So encourage you to be part of this community. It's not a huge expense. The only reason why we even charge anything for that is just because we have systems that Jenna handles all the tech and everything, and we have systems, and we're adding things all the time, and we're investing, but nobody's paying for me to do this, or a lot of the stuff that Jenna does for marketing. So it's really, and it's really there so we can be there for each other as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as people, okay? So that's what I would encourage you to do. If you have any questions, I am totally accessible. If you go to I left that thing, if you go to myvisionwarrior.com, it's a booking site. You can actually book an hour for free with me, that we can either meet over coffee or have a phone call or a Zoom call or whatever you want to do. All right? Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Gets better every time.
More
Well,
of
I'm
a
hoping if I
find.
practice